more dangerous, if you like, than others.
We spoke about what to do for horses. What about now for people with properties where they've got tanks? We have a question here, and Michael, I might defer this one to you, from Greg. And he asks, could we be affected with Hendra virus through our tank drinking water? As we have flying foxes in the vicinity and there are a lot of droppings on the roof area, is it possible that the rainwater we drink could become infected? And do they need to take precautions regarding that?
Well, thank you. That's a good question. I guess there are two answers. One is a general answer about rainwater and any areas where we have open water spaces such as swimming pools, and then the specifics around this particular virus. Bats, like any other animals, carry bacteria, and their faeces and urine can contain E. coli, and that can cause gastrointestinal illness. Often we travel overseas and talk about getting travellers' diarrhoea, and that's a similar bacteria. And I guess for all of us, it's very important that we take good care of our water supplies. In terms of rainwater tanks, they should be covered and meshed, and for pools we need to make sure that they're appropriately chlorinated so that we keep the potential pathogens at bay. In terms of the specific question, though, there's no evidence that this virus survives long outside the body of the fruit bats. In terms of time frame, it's measured in hours. So in terms of a general issue, there's a very low likelihood that the virus will survive for very long at all. And if it's in an unusual environment, so for example, if you've contaminated your hands and you wash them with soap and water, or any of the detergent products that you have at hand, that will kill the virus. So it's a very sensitive virus. In terms of what happens to grow the virus, I think probably the other extreme, it takes a great deal of sensitivity in terms of the environment that you grow the virus in to be able to keep it alive for periods of time. So I guess in summary, the general measures that we should be taking around protection of our water supplies are appropriate. There's no evidence at all that any contamination of the water supply provides a risk for Hendra virus, and again, the reason for that is that it is such a sensitive virus. It survives for very short periods of time outside the body of the fruit bats, and it's very sensitive to change in pH, change in moisture level, and just simple detergents.
Can I just maybe add to that in terms of certainly about the hygienic precautions, but there is no evidence that that Hendra virus goes directly from flying foxes to humans. We have a lot of evidence that carers get up and close personal with flying foxes, but there's no evidence at all that it transmits Hendra virus to the people. So I think that's an important message. You can't say it's ruled out, there's no evidence that it does.
Could I also, it's a good question, Sharon, so I think that, and I know a lot of people are concerned about it, and increasingly as we're using more and more tank water in broader attempts to conserve water, etc. I take Michael's point that it's important for people to realise that Hendra is not a waterborne disease, if you like. It's not like travellers' diarrhoea, it's not like cholera. And secondly, that moisture and temperature are the two key determinants for Hendra virus survival in the environment. As Michael says, under dry, hot conditions, the virus survives for a very short period of time, probably less than 15 minutes. Under periods of lower temperature and moisture, it certainly can survive longer, and I think there's a figure in the only published paper that explores this of up to 3 days in flying fox urine and fruit juice, I think. One of the other aspects that we've seen is this issue of dilution. When we're doing testing of our urine samples that we collect under flying fox roost, then we often see that a dilution of 1 in 10 as a part of the test process will be the difference between detectable virus and not detectable virus. So dilution is clearly an issue in relation to water, and I think that, and I'm speaking in relation to livestock here. The other aspect, I think, that argues against water being a role, if you like, a role of transmission to horses is that if we were seeing that a contaminated water trough was a source of infection, we would expect to see multiple horses infected in a paddock at the same point in time. And we've never seen that. Wherever typically we only see single horse cases, even when there are multiple horses in the paddock. But whenever we have seen multiple cases in a paddock, it's been a succession. One horse has been infected from a source, and then it's excreted virus subsequently, and another horse has gotten infected, and another horse has that. So if water were a point source, we'd expect multiple horses all to come down at the same time. And the final thing that I'd say in relation to roofs and tank waters is that people should, again for the reasons that Michael said, be using a first flush device just to get rid of organic matter, pollution, etc. off their roof. With the first rain, that first lot of water is discarded. These things are readily available commercially, or you can make them yourself with a bit of polypipe and some super glue.
Well, just on that, there is a question here from Rebecca from Curra, and she's asking about what litrage of water can the virus survive in. Now, her question basically is, should you have a big container, a catchment container for water for your horses, or a smaller one? With the dilution system, does that make a difference?
Yeah, look, I think, again, I would say just from first principles, the larger the better. But frankly, a 1 in 10 dilution is not very much. You know, if you had a water trough or a bathtub, I can't imagine that size quantity of water is going to be an issue. What potentially might be more of an issue if there were some contaminated material on the edge of the horse trough or the bathtub or whatever. So I think it's important to keep good water, general water quality, hygiene, change the water regularly, clean around the edge of the trough, just those basic husbandry things.
All right. We might now get onto the topic of the vaccine.